Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 10 of the Color Commentary Podcast, where we will be reviewing our Week 7 matchups, our trade between A.J. Brown and Cam Scadaboo, looking into our favorite matchups for Week 8, and finally, our coulda, woulda, shouldas of the week. I'm Ramiro Castro Jr., and with me today is Pedro Castro.
Hey, I totally botched this week.
What? No way. Your huge risk, huge reward team had a dip week?
Well, I wouldn't say George Kittle was a huge risk. I thought he was a shoo-in, but that shoe got me 0 points.
You're not the only one. I've heard a lot of people complain about that goose egg of a game. George Kittle is a top 3 tight end, but he doesn't always score that way. He's a fantastic, talented player. He's great at blocking, and I think for that reason, sometimes this happens. But tight end is a bit of a wasteland anyway, unless you have Tyler Warren. A few others come to mind. But like Pedro, like, you're tight end rich. Like, did you not consider starting somebody else that week?
Yes, I did, because I was either going to start Goddard or Ferguson, but I was like, well, George Kittle did so well earlier in the season, and that now that he's back from the IR and all the pundits that I should not be listening to kept saying like, oh, you know, he's going to do a great game now that he's back. Well, the fantasy managers should, you know, put him
right back where you left him, right?
Yeah.
Right back in.
Yeah. And that did not happen. And Ferguson, my tight end from Dallas, had a great game. So it's just like, I should have just stuck with him. I should have just stuck with Ferguson and should have just waited, because I knew that was like, you know, George Kittle's coming off an injury. I'm sure they're not going to try to, you know, make him do a lot right away. But I kept listening to the analytics and the pundits and the people that, you know, think that they know how it goes or they follow like betting trends, when in my mind, I know I should have at least stuck with Goddard, because Goddard would have gotten me like 6 points, and 6 points would have been more than 0 points.
Yes.
And what was also terrible was that when the week started, I was ahead. You know, I was ahead. I think I was tabbed to win like 75% because, you know, Scadaboo had a great game. Didn't get the 20 points that I thought, but got 16. Was very, very solid. But then as the day went on, like, Kittle wasn't scoring. Penix didn't have a good game. I think he only had 11 points.
Yeah, he had a
didn't have a good game. Krosky Merritt didn't have a good game, and now Daniels is injured, and it's just like, it was slipping away like the sands of time.
Yeah, a lot of things did not go your way, Pedro. In fact, you were the lowest scoring team of the week, and that hurts, right? Like, you want your team to do great. You want to listen to some fantasy pundits, right? Because you feel like they're doing the research. They're the ones out there putting in the time. And they can also be wrong, right? Like, here's your squad. I can show it on the screen here. Gonna zoom in a little bit on it, and knuckles up. You know, first off, Penix is a boom bust quarterback. You know, we've seen him do great some weeks, but we've also seen him not do so great. And so what looked like a for sure running back 1, at least a running back 2, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt had 13 carries for 33 yards and a reception for -1 yard, right? So your Penix pick, you know, he scored around what was projected, but Krosky Merritt kind of lost you the game. I mean, to not score, you know, be that far off from projection versus Dallas, a team that every other running back has been running crazy on, is a bit disconcerting.
It also didn't help that my opponent had Christian McCaffrey, and he went off.
Yes.
35.6 points. Like,
that's not fair.
That's not fair. But also, like, you know, Odunze only had 4 points. Golden only had nearly 6. Kittle with the 0. Vito, you know, he was okay. But I look at my bench and it's like I should always just stick with Pittman. I should always just stick with him.
Yeah, he had one bad week.
He scored 17 points, and Ferguson, he scored nearly 19 points, and that difference that would have won me the game. That would have won me my week.
Yeah, the hardest thing is knowing that you had the players on your bench. The answer was on the bench the whole time. I mean, even RJ Harvey snuck in with a touchdown reception at the end. And so, I saw that you did trade away Jake Ferguson for Bam Knight. And I wanted to know your thought process for that.
I thought at the time that Ferguson was an asset that I can part with. And I always need running back help. And since Knight was one of the stashes that we wanted to have for the week, I thought that might be a good idea because I made that trade before Sunday. And so I thought that, okay, I could use a good backup because I thought Krosky Merritt was going to be consistent, at least double digits. And Scadaboo seems to be the guy right now, at least he's getting the high 10s going. And again, I thought Kittle was going to do great.
Right.
Because everyone said he was going to do great, and he didn't do great. So now I'm in a pickle because I didn't think ahead because Bam Knight is off this week. And so now I have basically only just one good running back option right now with Cam Scadaboo. However, what's going to be great is, thank goodness, Lamar Jackson is going to be back. I cannot wait to get that point production from him. But the reason why I traded away Ferguson was that I didn't like his matchups moving forward. And it was one of those things where I thought it was worth, again, taking another little risk, trading away Ferguson. I thought that was kind of like with you with taking on AJ Brown, or at the time being able to let go of Scadaboo. Yeah. To be like, okay, I can absorb that. I can absorb that loss. I thought the rest of my tight ends would do pretty well, but it didn't.
I don't think your thought process was wrong. I think you could have traded Ferguson and waited and gotten something better. If you looked at Bam Knight, he's a backup running back. He's off this week coming up. He left the game with a concussion also, which he didn't know going in. And that field looks split, and Trey Benson might come back, and it would totally devalue that pick. And so Ferguson might be a top 3 tight end in scoring at the end of the year. And so it's someone that I would have waited one more week and try to get something for Goddard. You probably could have gotten Bam Knight for Goddard, and then you would have Kittle or Ferguson, which you could probably start both and put someone in your flex, right? So this happens. You never know with a trade. Bam Knight might go off. Ferguson might get hurt, and then you'll be like, well, at least I got something. But just like with me, I think waiting one more week just to see, because the news was CeeDee Lamb's back and Ferguson may just completely disappear. And we didn't see that happen. Ferguson is connecting with Dak Prescott, and it's beyond the CeeDee Lamb role, right? So I have the same worries with Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice is back. Travis Kelce got a few less targets, and I'm wondering how this will go week to week. I knew that going in, that Travis Kelce could do a lot better without Rashee Rice. He did okay. He had a touchdown game 1, and that was it. Like, he's been like a 5 to 10 point asset for me. He doesn't lose his role, but you know, I could see myself trying to trade for Travis Kelce. I don't know what I'll get, but you know, your strength was tight end. You traded away your strength, and you still need a running back this week. And so this is how you learn, though. You try and see. Like for me, you know, that lesson of just, you could always just wait one more week to see how things play out, and then people's perceptions change pretty quickly after one game.
That's what I should have done. I should have waited, and I should have put one of the tight ends into the flex spot, because Beadle didn't do well either. He only scored a handful of points. And again, if I would have slotted in Ferguson and put Pittman back in, I definitely would have won that game. I would have won my week. So, but you live and you learn in fantasy. But the temptation of just switching players and trying to outsmart the system is always there. And especially when there's a lot of information overload of projections and point totals and matchups in year to year, where a lot of times, especially in sports and what I see, there's a lot of like eye tests. And the eye test was telling me that I should have just stuck with Pittman. I shouldn't have sat him down. The reason why I sat him down, because I didn't like the matchup. And I thought Golden would have had a better matchup this week, and he didn't.
You're right. There's information overload now more than ever in fantasy football. And the projections are my most hated enemy because they will start to bias your own head. If you see one player like a Michael Pittman projected for less than 10 points, which I saw on ESPN, because he's on my team on ESPN, I sat him and I put in Rome Odunze. Now, Rome Odunze has had such a great start, but he's had two not so great games in a row. And Pittman seems to be solid. He had one bad week. This offense is on fire. And so how do you sit Pittman going forward, right? Like you're at least guaranteed some production. He's a part of that team of a high scoring offense. And so it's tricky. And so, you know, you never know what you're going to get when it comes to fantasy, but you want to stick by players that time and time again have shown that they can boom. Pittman is one of those players. Odunze was one of those players. He may still be, so I am still sticking by him coming into next week. However, there are a few sort of like I got yous or tricks. Like I stuck with Rico Dowdle this week when I probably shouldn't have. I knew his load was going to be split. And I just thought, you know what, maybe he'll break out and get a touchdown. And it didn't happen. He split with Chuba Hubbard, and I could have put in AJ Brown on that team, and I sat him. So I missed out on a boom on ESPN. I got him in sleeper, but in my head, I was like, I just need a guaranteed 10 points. So I went safely, but then I missed out on the boom. So I am in, obviously, you know that, on AJ Brown. He is one of those players that will boom from time to time. And, you know, let's go right into it. Our trade, right? I think your trade with me had a great outcome. You are winning in the points differential. Cam Scadaboo over the last couple weeks have scored 46.9 points for you in the last 2 weeks. And AJ Brown has scored me 37.1 points. And so you have the edge. I think seeing AJ Brown boom this week was helpful for me because I have a few players on that team, namely Nico Collins, who may be out this week. And so I was right. My wideout depth wasn't there. And one more injury is putting me in danger of having no wideout depth. Like I only have 3. So losing Nico Collins this week and putting in AJ Brown, I'm not in trouble. But Cam Scadaboo, I'll say it now, was the wrong running back to trade to you. Breece Hall looks like a fantastic trade away in a team that's totally falling apart. I just know his past pedigree. And there's trade talk, and he's got a great matchup this week. I am starting him this week in my team, but I'm not excited. Like, I kind of wish I could go back and give you Breece Hall.
Yeah, and the 2 players that, you know, I would have traded away from him. But on Cam Scadaboo, he's really the only reason why my games have been as close as they have been. He's been a great pickup for my team. He has been the only consistent running back option that I have right now. And his trajectory, I feel like he's hit his floor. He's going to score at least 15 points. And Jackson Dart has been doing great, which is funny because the Giants are 2-5. So they are one of those teams that are putting out a lot of production, but they don't seem to win. Well,
let's talk about that for a second, right? Yeah. They were winning for 3 quarters, 19-0. They could have basically gone into victory formation, and then Denver did the impossible. I even put a bet that they would beat them by those 19 points. I put $5 down and was like, hey, this is over. This is an easy bet. And what happens? Denver Broncos created history and scored 33 points in one quarter. Bo Nix was a dud and was a stud within minutes. He scored 4 all-purpose touchdowns, just like Jackson Dart that day. He ends up beating him as the quarterback 1 in fantasy in terms of scoring. And it's unbelievable. Literally has never happened in the history of the NFL. And so the Giants look like they were turning their season around. 3-4 looks way better than 2-5. And I've never seen Daboll angrier in my life.
Well, when you give up so many points in the fourth quarter and you don't have an answer, it was very winnable right up until the very end. And you just can't bet against Sean Payton. He's the reason why Denver might be a Super Bowl contender this year, because I feel like that's a big coaching effort from Sean Payton. He is able to take risks and pull things out and able to get his players, especially his offense, to click in. He could have very well sat Bo Nix or could have just threw in the towel or done something else. But I think at some point, Sean Payton and that offense figured out Daboll's defense. And it speaks a lot to the state of the Giants right now, where, you know, I'm always a fan of coaching chaos, but I just feel like it speaks more to Brian Daboll's coaching than to the production of his own players. You know, I think it's one of those schematic things where if you don't have any answers on defense, that's a coaching problem. That's a personnel problem in the management.
Yeah, it was just so surprising. And I think you're right. Having faith in Bo Nix is important. We saw the opposite in the New York Jets. Justin Fields wasn't winning the game. He wasn't necessarily losing them the game. They put Tyrod Taylor in, who throws an interception, who doesn't win the game. He's a lesser Justin Fields, very similar player. And now they're in a quarterback controversy, and they're literally throwing Justin Fields under the bus, a guy who they just signed a huge contract with. What a mistake. I mean, like you said, one has faith and one doesn't. And at some times, your quarterback might struggle. We saw that with Baker Mayfield up until Sunday. MVP all over the place. And now those odds are going and crashing back down to earth. But he just had a bad game against a good defense. The Lions are on fire right now. Will that continue? We don't know. We're literally halfway through the fantasy season, right? So there's still so much more football to play, but having faith in these guys is so important. I know Justin Fields has the talent. Some analysts are saying just become a running back, but some team is going to take a chance on him. They might as well trade him at this point if they're talking this bad about him, to be honest.
I would just ask for his release. Honestly, I heard the comments that the Jets owner said, and it's like, if you don't have any faith in this quarterback and you are blaming the quarterback, then he should just leave. He should just ask to be released from his contract or demand a trade or something, because he is not going to start again this season. And it's a shame, because you're right. He is talented. He does win some games. He did pretty well in Pittsburgh. And he's in a situation like Baker Mayfield, like Sam Darnold, where he's just been plopped into terrible situations. He is not being put in a position to do well. And that kills quarterbacks. That kills quarterback potential. And I hate to say it, like, it all started with the Bears. We were a mess and it showed. But then when he moved to Pittsburgh, he was doing really well. And for some reason, Pittsburgh got snookered into taking Russell Wilson instead, who is playing himself out of the Hall of Fame. Like, he is just being so horrific on the field right now. But I feel like Justin Fields should have one more chance on a good team. Maybe it won't happen, but maybe like on a squad like Minnesota, or maybe a backup in Detroit. like a good, solid organization that will help develop the quarterback position and give him one more chance.
This sounds crazy, but I would suggest a blockbuster trade between the Jets and the Ravens. Justin Fields and Breece Hall for Derrick Henry. They go young at running back. They have a great backup who plays a lot like a Lamar Jackson. And I think that they just move on from an aging running back. And I think Breece Hall would do fantastic on the Ravens. I'm not a general manager, but that's what I would do. If I could get that trade to go, I would try, because I think Justin Fields as your backup is awesome. As your starter, he's going to be up and down, and you have to build your team around a talent like that. You have to have a great offensive line first and foremost, because he's going to run. He's just going to run a lot. And then you need a lot of great slot receivers like a Rashee Rice. Great after the catch guys. Don't throw deep. The deep ball is gone with Justin Fields, but you create the team based off of talent that you have, not the talent you wish were in someone that just may not be there.
I remember Tom Brady saying it on a broadcast a few months ago where he was advocating that, you know, there's player rankings, there should be coaching rankings. There should be like some poll or some kind of pro football reference that, you know, runs through all the data, runs through all the stats, runs through all the news, and just rank the types of coaching staffs that are on the team. And I can tell you that the Jets are at the bottom next 100%. to Miami. And so I think that could also play into like a lot with quarterback development, where you see Baker Mayfield, you see Sam Darnold, you see even like JJ McCarthy, who's an okay quarterback, but he's doing quite well because he's playing for a great organization in Minnesota.
Exactly right. I think they'd be happier with Cooper Rush, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a pocket passer. And to me, like, the Ravens need to have a good backup behind Lamar Jackson. Cooper Rush is not the answer. We've seen him do well at the Dallas Cowboys, right? But he's not doing well with the Ravens. And so I would throw that in too. Cooper Rush, Derrick Henry for Breece Hall, Justin Fields. Let's go. I would love to see that change.
Man, that would be good. That would be good, especially for the Ravens, because what is their record now? They're
1-5.
1-5.
They'd have to win out. And if Lamar Jackson's hurt again, with Justin Fields, I think you have a chance to win because he plays so similarly to Lamar Jackson. And with Cooper Rush, it's like they just put a ton in the box, and there's no way for them to beat him. They're asking Cooper Rush to beat them, but they don't have weapons, right? They don't have a number one wideout. Zay Flowers sort of is, but it's kind of like in the Buffalo Bills situation, like Allen elevates the wide receivers they have, but they don't have a number one wideout. So if you put in a backup quarterback, they're going to struggle because a good wideout can hide the errors of a bad quarterback. They can reach and catch in ways that other wideouts can't. I mean, you're basically seeing that on the Bengals right now. Joe Flacco changes teams. He's not the best quarterback right now, but those are two of the best wide receivers in the game. Separately, wideout ones on any team. Together, they're one of the best wideout tandems. And now Joe Flacco seems like a great waiver wire pickup as a backup quarterback on anyone's team. If you need to go to him on a bye, I would. I mean, I went with Aaron Rodgers of all people, and he did great for that 1 week. But he doesn't have the weapons that the Bengals do, and now that sleeping dragon is wide awake.
At that point, you just need a game manager quarterback. Just someone who has the experience, someone who isn't going to make a lot of mistakes, and getting that crucial yards after catch differential. Just put it in the wide receiver's hands and not making a lot of mistakes. It's not going to get you a lot of accolades, but it will get you wins. And I think Cincinnati was very smart in getting Joe Flacco. And once again, the Browns, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's doing okay, but they're such a middling team right now.
I mean, Mike Tomlin is furious with the Browns because they would have won that game if Joe Flacco weren't the quarterback. easily. I had the Steelers defense, and come Thursday night, I'm like, I'm going to lose my game because of this. And I did. The Steelers defense scored me -2 points. I needed 4 points from a defense. Oof. And I hated losing that way because my whiteout squad is stacked, almost too stacked on my Yahoo League. I have Rashee Rice, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, and Devonta Smith. And I sat Devonta Smith because that seemed like the thing to do, right? All the rankings, all the defense of the Minnesota Vikings is out there. And what did I say last week? I said, the toughest situations creates diamonds out of the best, right? The pressure created a great opportunity for Hurts, for A.J. Brown, and for Devonta Smith. And so if there's another great matchup, I'm going to have a dilemma as to which one of those 4 wideouts I need to start. I'm trying to trade one of them for a better running back. That's the same team where my running backs got decimated by injuries. And so there you go, Pedro. Like, I listened to all the pundits too, and I ended up losing my game. If I just started Devonta Smith, I would have won easily.
Well, now let's go through your games. How did you do in your 3 leagues last week?
This is my Yahoo League. Dog wearing sunglasses, having a pretty good time.
I love that name.
Jalen Hurts scores me 33 points because in this league, there are bonuses for a 40-plus yard completion as well as a 40-yard touchdown. So I got some awesome bonuses there. And believe me, I was really thinking about starting Caleb Williams because of how well he did. And he scores not even a point in this league. So, wow, what a big difference. Justin Jefferson does about what he's projected. What's frustrating is that Jordan Addison and Carson Wentz seem to have a better connection. And so this asset seems depressed to me. I kind of want JJ McCarthy back. Justin Jefferson seemed to do better. I don't know how I can bench the guy. Moving on to Rashee Rice. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been telling you every week, come week 7, like a Pokemon, Rashee Rice is here. And he feasted with 2 touchdowns. Not a lot of yards, but he was back. And I felt good about starting him. Rachaad White didn't do so great. No one thought this would be a 9-24 game. Everyone was expecting a 50-pointer, and that's not what happened. And so he disappointed me. J.K. Dobbins did okay in this game. I kind of wish he was the guy that caught the touchdown. R.J. Harvey is a thorn on my side for J.K. Dobbins. I never expected him to be my starter, but here we are. He almost got 100 yards in this game. Didn't. It would have been nice if he did. Dallas Goedert is here. He didn't become the beneficiary of the offense. This time it was Devonta Smith. Last week, it was the opposite. It was Dallas Goedert and Drake London. What the hell, right? Like this guy has got to be a top whiteout, right, in the league. And, your boy Penix isn't finding him. He got blanked out. So that was really, really disappointing. And then Jake Moody, hot foot. I told you I picked him up. So when I lost, Pittsburgh happens and I'm like, I'm probably going to lose. My opponent put the Rams in and they have 18 points. And I'm like, I need to take a risk. I put Hotfoot in and he almost alone won me this match. If he scored 6 more points, I would have won. And so just a few more successes on this team. Or if I start Devonta Smith or Stephon Diggs, like there's a hope. And so, I'm in a conundrum. I now that Rashee Rice is back, I'm not sure who to start week to week.
I mean, Jake Moody, how about that hot foot, huh?
So I'm keeping him. He has one more chance to be elevated from the practice squad. If Cairo Santos is still banged up, I'm keeping him. If not, I have to move on. I'll probably pick up Santos, depending on who's hurt. I picked up Indianapolis this week because they're versus Tennessee. I'm hoping for good things. I'm not letting my defense defeat me this time. And so here's hoping that my defense doesn't stop me from getting a win. I was hoping to go 5-2 in that league. I'm 4-3. This is my sleeper league. Let's go back to week 7. Hurts is here. No bonuses. 24 points on delay. I love it. Rachaad White here again. 6 points. No bueno. Breece Hall versus the Carolina Panthers. I don't know them to be a great running defense, but this whole team just doesn't believe in Justin Fields. I heard that Breece Hall sat until Justin Fields was also out of the game. And so there might be just a lot of struggles if everyone's dumping on Justin Fields. Like you said, I don't know how he starts again. They have to deal with him or release him or something. I don't know how his contract's structured, but what a mess. Nico Collins, what the hell? Again, another elite wideout scoring 4 points. I watched this game and was very, very disappointed that they couldn't get him the ball. They were in this game because of their defense. I don't know what Seattle was doing when they had, wideouts acting as the quarterback for some reason. Like, what are you doing? A lot of mistakes. They could have won that game with a little bit better weapons or a running game, but they didn't. And the AJ Brown pick felt good. 4 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. It made me feel better about my trade. I'm still in a point deficit with you, but okay. The whole point of me having someone like that was because they could boom. Kelsey this is like the stat I expect from him now week to week is somewhere between 5 and 10 points. That's okay. But look at my boy, DeAndre Swift. I'm so glad I started him this week. I didn't last week, but he's looking like an excellent flex player for me. And he's in my starting lineup until otherwise noted. I love that he's paying off, especially because I gave away Cam Scatterboo. Swift is carrying the load. And I'm very, very happy with that. We'll see how he does the following week versus the next team. I'm forgetting who they play. Pinheiro, an ex-Bears guy. He's sticking on my lineup. San Francisco seems to be able to move the ball, but not always in 2 touchdown territory. So he's a really great flex. And I picked up the right defense here in Kansas City. On my bench, Rico Dowdle. I didn't start him here. I was glad I took a chance on AJ Brown. I would have lost my match otherwise. And what's going on with Chris Olave? I've been disrespecting Chris Olave all year. He's been doing nothing but scoring double-digit points, and here he finally booms against the Bears. I heard a couple analysts say start him. I wasn't sure. I was really between him and A.J. Brown, so to be fair, A.J. Brown scored 2 more points, but I didn't know that Collins would totally dud in this game, and I wish I could have started Chris Olave. Chris Olave is in my lineup this week, especially because Nico Collins has a concussion. I don't think he gets out of that protocol on a short week.
No, I don't think so. What's funny is that in the sleeper league, you and I go up head to head this week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not only is that funny, but very relevant to this podcast. So here we are, 50% chance. 50-50, Pedro. So big things for us to look at are, is Lamar Jackson really going to play? Is he really going to play? He's questionable. We'll find out today if he practiced, but that'll be huge. DeAndre Swift is here. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt versus Kansas City. And Jaden Daniels is officially out. So this is a huge question mark. I think 12 points is actually very generous. I could see another 4 or 5 point game here, Pedro. I hope for better things for you in general, but not for this matchup. But I think if he does bad here, you might have to start sitting him.
I agree. I feel like with Jaden Daniels being out for the duration, I don't know what his actual injury report says, but he injured his hamstring again. And I feel like with Daniels out, even with Mariota in, it's a big question mark on how much of the run game that he's going to execute. It is actually a bigger risk whether or not to start Krosky-Merritt or to go with someone else. I do agree with you. It's probably going to be like a 5 or a 6 point game going into it. And it might be, if Scatterboo or if Lamar Jackson wakes up and goes back to 20-point production, that could be very well be the difference.
What scares me is that this is a rematch. I'm hoping that the Eagles can bottle up Scatterboo, but Jackson Dart is also difficult to battle up. So, I could see Scatterboo making up the points that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt should be getting you. So I think the squad together will probably net you 30 points. It'll probably mostly coming from Scatterboo. But you have a Dunze and Pittman who both could boom in these games. Tennessee is not a hard opponent. They might want to go up early, get him a touchdown. A Dunze, same thing. Baltimore's defense is not looking the same, although they get a couple key pieces of their defense back. Roquan Smith looks like he'll be playing this week, and maybe that defense is different. But Roma Doomsday, this is a make it game for him. If he doesn't score or get double digits here, again, I'd be wondering if I should start sitting him, because how many times have I tried to get him? I'm forcing him in my lineup at this point. I have better options.
With Odunze, he started out great. He was a great surprise this season. And probably the other defenses have started to figure him out now that there's more tape on him. So we'll see how much Odunze will adjust to be able to put up the production that he normally has put up this season.
100%. And then we have the battle of the what the hell's going on here running backs between Breece Hall and Kamani Vidal. You know, he had that great game versus Miami, but has since come down back to earth. Minnesota's defense is supposed to be good, but who knows? He might get a tutty, you know, at the 1 yard line. It's going to be an exciting game between the Minnesota Vikings and the now quickly decelerating Los Angeles Chargers. We're just not sure what's happening with that team after so many injuries. They look like the team to beat in the AFC and no longer look that way.
No, the roster construction has been quite a mess right now because of the injuries. I feel like Justin Herbert has some ceiling to him. He's been in the league for almost 5-6 years now. While he has broken out, he hasn't broken out to some of the other newer quarterbacks in this league. So I wouldn't say to look for another option. Obviously, this is the best option, but I feel like the Chargers' problems do run deeper than injuries right now.
It may be another do-over year for them, and just losing Amari and Hampton and Najee Harris in the same year was just too much. Like, without a good running attack, they're not able to pass the ball as well as they did when he was good. Rewinding back to week 7 and my final matchup, the Hockey Lees scored me 134 points. I was
You always have great names. You always have great names.
It's Ramiro's regular folks, just a bunch of regular guys. The Hockey Lees and dog wearing sunglasses. I try to get away from the punny names. You know, everybody tries to make, you know, like the Swifties or something, or the Quinchon. I don't know what you could do with Quinchon Junkins necessarily. I mean, you know, the Quinchon Quiznos. I don't know. I move away from that. And so, you know, everything does great, but my opponent did very well as well. He scored 131 points, and look at who's on my bench. You know, we have AJ Brown scoring 27, Michael Pittman scoring 17, Jordan Addison scoring 19, and I have Justin Jefferson. So frustrating to see that. So again, like, I have too much wideout depth. I'm hoping to trade. Darren Waller got hurt. Jacoby Myers might be traded. And so, you know, here's Rico Dowdle, my safe pick that I said I just needed 10 points. Well, I was right this time, but it could have gone the other way. It's because, you know, my opponent started Justin Fields. That's why he didn't win. I can't believe I won versus a team who started Christian McCaffrey. I was like, I'm going to lose. I just saw that game and was like, this guy is scoring almost 40 points. You know, we have a few other players booming for him, Javonte Williams, and he had the Patriots again saving his team from a Justin Fields 1-point game. I should have won easily. I think I got a little bit overconfident seeing, you know, his projections, and I should have went higher. I just remembered that when I started Roma Dunze before, instead of DeAndre Swift, that I got punished for that. And so I went with the safer pick, almost lost. So I guess it just depends, you know, like every game is different. No pick is safe. And so, you know, I really like my running back squad here. I have Swift and Judkins now as my starters. I feel good about that. This is the team that lost Amari and Hampton. And so luckily a late round pick I had, not unlike Cam Scadaboo, who I should have kept, Quinchon Judkins is saving this team. Here at the Color Commentary Podcast, we have our special segment called Coulda, Shoulda, Woulda, and I have mine ready to go. I have depth, which is the good news. The bad news is I could be making the wrong decision week to week. So my coulda is I could have started Devonta Smith, but with Rashee Rice coming back, I had to put him in my flex spot. I had no idea he would do as good as he did. He is going to be a tough choice week to week. I feel like one of my awesome wideouts will dud, and I'll continue to wish I've put him in my lineup. I woulda sat Drake London and Nico Collins if I knew they would both be dud. So they impacted both of my teams, and I lost in those leagues where they played. And from now on, I'm really going to be looking at the matchups and wondering, well, one, Nico Collins is hurt, but also Drake London and Penix, what's going on there? Like, it's got me worried, and I may need to start someone else. And I should have started any other defense than the Steelers, where I only needed 4 points and they scored me -2. Wow. That was a mistake. So I'm going to be very, very picky with my defenses from now on. I want no chance of a team to put on 33 points going forward.
Oh, man, geez. What are you thinking of which defense to pick up then, if not the Steelers?
I'm starting the Indianapolis Colts this week because they are up against Tennessee, who could barely throw or run the football. So it's a safe pick. The Colts are on fire. Their offense will have them against their backs, so they'll be throwing a lot. A lot of mistakes can happen. The last team that faced them was the Cleveland Browns, and they put up over 20 points, I believe. So it's a good matchup. I also have the Kansas City Chiefs, who did great versus the Raiders. They got a shutout and 1 sack or 2, so they ended up scoring 13 points. So I have the Chiefs on my sleeper league, and then I have the Colts in my other 2 teams.
Now let's go through my coulda, woulda, shoulda, and oh man. So my coulda, I could have started Ferguson instead of Kittle. Ferguson scored almost 18 points for me. On my bench, Kittle scored 0. That's pretty self-explanatory. I thought George Kittle would have a great game. I thought Ferguson was expendable so much that I ended up trading for him. But now I'm in a spot where I'm going to have to rely on Goddard to get me consistent points. My woulda, I would have started Harvey instead of Krosky Merritt, only because Harvey scored around 7 points to Krosky Merritt's nearly 4-point performance. Any little edge would have helped me out. My shoulda, and I'm going to keep reminding myself that I should always put Pittman in. Should always put Pittman in. Put Pittman in. Put Pittman in. Instead of Golden this week, Pittman has been a stud throughout. He scored double digits, high double digits for me. Almost like 18 points. Golden only had a handful of points, and if I would have started Pittman, I think I still would have won my game.
I like your phrase, put Pittman in, PPI.
PPI.
So, Matthew Golden, I think one of these weeks at some point will boom. Then you can start him. I wouldn't wait. I think you're trying to catch when he's in a boom, and that team is notorious at spreading the ball around. So I don't blame your thinking. I think you saw a great matchup, and it was. It's just Pittman is definitely solidified as the wideout 1.
But yeah, I should always remember that PPI, let my studs perform, ignore the analytics, ignore the pundits, just see what his past performance has been overall, and it has been solid since week 2.
I feel like if you invest in certain players, you picked up Pittman, you picked up a few other players like Rome Odunze, and you believed in them. And I think you do have to invest in them and leave them in your lineups because they have the capability of scoring over 15 points. And pundits and analytic people, they have all day to think about the minutia, but ultimately a Matthew Golden, just because a matchup is good doesn't mean he's going to get the ball. It could just go to Tucker Kraft, right? So I think that for me too, like I invested in AJ Brown and I sat him. I drafted him 2nd overall on my ESPN league. I should have just put him in and said, I believe in this guy. He's capable of scoring over 15 points. Rico Dowdle obviously had competition this week. It's just a guy a running back who scored 30 plus points 2 weeks in a row, it was hard for me to sit, but the evidence was there. And so go back to your studs. AJ Brown won't be leaving my lineup, even if he does this week. I think I just need to stay true to him and hope that the other players bail him out if he doesn't have a good week.
Start your studs. SYS, PPI.
Start your studs. It's always true. You want to get fancy and reach and hope that better things happen. And sometimes you could just have a lot of depth. And so that's why I don't play 10-team leagues, Pedro. If you're in a 10-team league, that means there are over 24 players out there. And every team is almost always pretty good. So you're choosing between like a Justin Jefferson and a Nico Collins and a Drake London. And it's like, who am I supposed to start? And then someone else goes off and you're stuck. Like, it's very frustrating to play in a smaller league, in my opinion. And so for me, it's 12 teams or nothing. Like, I just don't like how stacked everyone's team is, and it's even harder to make the right decision.
Yeah, especially when the playoffs come into the picture, because usually the 10 teams, they cut off at top 4, right?
That's right. So then it's just the top 4. And that's what happened to me last year. I was in a 10-team league. I was in the top 4, and I had Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley, and I still somehow lost to another team. And it just was like, how do you lose with those two guys on your team? You know, it just blew my mind. And I never looked back. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too frustrating to have a great team and still lose. Well, let's look ahead. Week 8 looks to be just as exciting as week 7. It is a bye-mageddon. We have 6 teams on bye. And so there are a lot of different choices happening for fantasy managers. They're starting backups. They're starting questionable wideouts. Who knows what's going on with the Jets, right? Maybe everyone gets traded before Sunday. However, one of my favorite matchups to look at is the Chicago Bears versus the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, I'm from Chicago. Hey, Bulls, Bears. I love this team right now, 4-2. And I actually said something a couple of weeks ago where I was looking ahead and said, what if the Bears are 4-2? We haven't seen that in a long time. We actually saw that last year. They started 4-2 and went on a 10-game losing streak, which ended a pretty horrific stint by the coaching team there. So there's hope. The Bears are not the favorites here. The Ravens are. Why? Because Pedro's quarterback, Lamar Jackson, is set to start. And when he's in the lineup, anything can happen. So the Ravens are still pretty favorited to win their division, believe it or not. I think this spread is ridiculous. I myself think if you're a betting person, put it on the Bears spread, because 5.5 points on a team that looked really hapless may not happen. If the Ravens do win, it's because of a rested Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry could put up 200 yards on this team, and the Bears will lose by double-digit points. However, I just don't think a week is enough. I think the Bears win this game and cover this spread easily.
Yeah, I think if the Bears do win, it's going to be more of a product of the Ravens losing, because the Ravens have gone through a really tough stretch the last few weeks. Lamar Jackson has been out. Cooper Rush has not been the answer. You know, the Bears have been going on a pretty good tear right now, and this is a big test. This is a big test for them. So I am very hopeful that they'll pull it out, but I do think that if anything, Lamar Jackson is just going to wake up. He's all fresh and relaxed, and his hamstring works again. And yeah, he's going to be scoring a lot of points, and it's going to be brace for impact for the Bears defense.
This is a must win for the Ravens.
Yes.
If they don't win this, their season most likely is over.
Yeah, if they don't win this, might as well just put Lamar Jackson back into storage. Just save him up for next year. Save him up, save all that wear and tear. It will be a disaster for my fantasy team, but if the Ravens are thinking about the future and wanting to protect their prize quarterback, I mean, it's going to be tough. 1-6, that's almost impossible to get out of.
I would say this for the Bears. Their defense looked fantastic against the Saints. I wonder if it's for real. We have seen this Bears defense hold teams and win the turnover battle over the last 6 weeks. And so this is a real test for them against an A1 MVP quality quarterback and a resurrected Derrick Henry. He did get some rest. And so he did great last week, a couple weeks ago. And so I think they're hoping to get their wheels back up, start here, get a win at M&T Bank Stadium, and then continue to win throughout their schedule.
What's your prediction?
Bears 59, Ravens 2. They get a safety because we started our backup quarterback, and he ends up fumbling in the end zone and catches it and gets tackled. 59-2. For real, it's probably going to be like 36-30. And it'll be terrible for both defenses. They're going to try, but I see Swift turning the corner. I think that Ben Johnson, has the wind to his back. And this defense, I don't think all of a sudden gets better out of nowhere. I think Roquan Smith is coming back, but this team wasn't good with Lamar Jackson in it. So I don't see how, even with a week break, they win this game.
I think it's going to be 21-14 Ravens. As much as I always want the Bears to win, but I think the Ravens offense will be better than the Bears defense, and the Bears offense is still kind of iffy.
I like betting the under. That's an interesting idea, Pedro, as well as I still like the spread for the Bears, but if you really think the Ravens are going to show up, take the money line and combine it with the under and see. I think they will have to keep it a low-scoring game in order to win.
Next game, and this is one of my favorites. This is the one where I'm going to be like, oh, brace for impact. I'm just going to be looking away until the final score is over. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Washington Commanders, primarily because I don't know how Marcus Mariota is going to do. And it's going to be really dependent on his performance with how Krosky Merritt is going to do. I don't think it's going to go well. I'm expecting a shellacking on the Kansas City side. You can't go up against Patrick Mahomes. It seems that the Chiefs have finally figured out. They have settled in. The Commanders, they kind of live and die with Jaden Daniels. If he's not healthy, then their whole offense is in disarray. And for a fantasy football standpoint, the last time that Daniels was injured, Krosky Merritt did terrible. And all the great games that Krosky Merritt did, at least fantasy-wise, Daniels was behind center. And so will Marcus Mariota go to the running game? Would he manage the game well enough where they'll be able to win? I just don't see it. I really think that Kansas City is going to run all over this team. And I just hope that, at least for me, Krosky Merritt gets at least 7 points. I wish he could do like 10 or 12, but I feel like if he can at least get to 7 points, that'll at least get me a little bit competitive, because then I know that Scatterboo will probably pick up the rest.
The Chiefs have been known to have a good running defense. I think you don't have that many places to pivot, right, Pedro? Like, you're pretty much bill or bust.
The running back market right now is kind of bare. So I would have been able to start Bam Knight, but he's actually on a bye this week. So this is who I got. This is who I have with as my RB2. Hopefully I'm proven wrong for this prediction. I always like to think that these types of games where a team is really heavily favored, like the Chiefs, will actually poop the bed and not be able to get through. It has happened before. It has happened before every season. There's always been a handful of games where a heavily favored team ends up losing by a lot. And maybe this time, this will be one of those games.
It very well could. And looking at the spread, it grew from 9.5 to 12.5. It looks like the total it went down a little bit because Jaden Daniels wasn't going to be there. And so it'll be interesting for our matchup, Pedro, because I have the Chiefs defense and you have Bill Krosky Merritt. And so, the better he does, the worse my defense does too. So we'll see. it's going to be tough for you. I think running back depth is a problem that you need to solve, but you will have Bam Knight next week. So maybe he'll come and rescue your team and you won't have to start Bill unless you really have to.
Hopefully my tight ends, I am probably going to start Goddard this week. I just don't know how George Kittle is going to do. So it is a really big gamble that I'm going to be keeping Bill into my lineup, but that's basically all that I have right now.
I have so many opinions about your lineup, Pedro, but I will not be giving you advice this week since we're going head to head.
But I will say that the Chiefs will probably pull this one out by at least a few scores. I would probably say 21-14 Chiefs. 21-14
Chiefs. They enjoy destroying their opponents. I could see the Chiefs putting up 30 plus points again and then resting their starters. I'm going to say 33-0.
Ooh,
33.
wow.
You know what? Let me change that. 33-9. It'll be all field goals from the Commanders.
Well, make sure you get that kicker from the Commanders.
Matt Gay would be a good pickup if it goes that way. Tough to predict.
What other game do you have, Ramiro?
The game I want to highlight next is the Bills versus the Panthers. And so the Bills haven't looked quite like themselves. They lost the last two games after a hot start. The Carolina Panthers are on the rise. They actually have Andy Dalton starting this week, which in my opinion actually makes the wideouts better. Bryce Young is volatile. I'm surprised he's still the starter. I think that these surprise wins have kept him in that starting role. Otherwise, we would have seen Andy Dalton already start for the Panthers. So here we are. The Bills are heavily favorited at 7.5 points. The line has not moved at all since opening. And I need some big plays from Jared Allen in order to cover up some issues I might have at running back if Judkins or Swift can't come through. And so it will be interesting. I also have Rico Dowdle on this team, and the Bills' run defense is not good, so it's tempting to start. But from what I saw last week, it is a true split. So half of a good running back is not good enough to start on my team. So I will be putting Roman Dudzay in my flex and hoping again that the Baltimore Ravens and Bears match is a high scoring affair. I see the Bills running away with this and having fun and definitely beating the spread. If I were to guess the total points, I don't know. Let's call it 36-14.
I think Buffalo is just going to run all over this Carolina team. They have been locked in for about 5 years. Josh Allen is a stud. Everything is set in place. I feel like Carolina is just going to be another pit stop for them on their way to the playoffs. I don't see Carolina doing any better. They are in flux. They are still trying to figure things out. The jury is out whether or not Bryce Young is their guy. So I feel that with Buffalo, I don't have a specific number, but I do feel like it's going to be a 3-score game with Buffalo. I think that there is going to be they might sit their starters starting in the fourth quarter. I think it's just going to be a blowout.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us from Collar Commentary Podcast. I'm Ramiro Castro Jr., and with me today is Pedro, my co-host. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and thank you for following. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, and share. Tell people who you play fantasy football with. The Color Commentary Podcast is the place to talk about, learn, and do better at fantasy football. Pedro, what are you looking forward to this week coming up?
I hope that Lamar Jackson has a great game, that he scores 35 points, kicks your butt, that George Kittle doesn't score 0 points again, that Goddard will actually score, something for me, and that hopefully that I win against you, because that would be fun and funny.
It would be funny. It'll be a good game. It'll come down to the wire, I'm sure, and we'll be watching the Monday Night Football with anticipation. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye for now.
See ya.